For people like me who are kind of outliers and who like to do things on their own, but like to be tethered to a team, the three things that I promote or talked a lot about when I met and interviewed with people were basically customer service, team, and individual responsibility. Now, they're all interlaced, and your program offers that, depending on how much someone wants to put into it and how much someone wants to get out of it. It's there. So my journey with Salesforce actually started, I think, back in 2018. Like a lot of people, I wasn't necessarily happy with what my path was taking me on, and I was looking for an alternative. And I actually started some Salesforce trailhead stuff, and like a lot of people, completely got lost, right? Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And so I reached out to the local DC Trailblazer group, sat in a meeting or two, and felt, I'm a sales professional. I can kind of do what they're telling me to do here, but in the sales capacity instead. So I put the Salesforce thing on the back burner. And as you know, due to COVID and some other circumstances, I was laid off in November of 2020. At the beginning of COVID, all of my customers, like a lot of other customers in the world, this went quiet, and they stopped working. So between November and January, I was trying to figure out what I want to do when I grew up, right? And so I knew that Salesforce was out there. I was in my last job, I was using Salesforce as a user. The rollout to this very large company was not done well. We were essentially just told to, jot down our opportunities and go from there. So I had to kind of take some initiative on my own side and kind of figure out how I can get Salesforce to help me reach out to my customers and my prospects. So actually, after being laid off, I was like, I'll just interview with a job and blah, blah, blah. And so I did, in the same industry. And I decided that this was not for me. And this is a great opportunity for me to start fresh, and make myself happy in terms of my professional life. So I got back into the whole trailhead thing. And like before, I got lost. Just kind of floundering around a little bit. And I don't know where or how, but I stumbled across you on LinkedIn, right, in your Talent Stacker program. So I think that, and you were very patient with me, so thank you for the kindness and patience. I think I bounced multiple emails kind of grilling you about your program. So I think I followed your 5-day challenge. And then after a few more questions and some good answers, I joined your program. As an experienced professional, you can tell by my white beard and lack of hair that I've been around for a little while. So ageism was really the only issue I think that I was really contemplating and really concerned about. After joining your program and seeing the way that you had outlined things, again, going back to my experience and a lot of other people's experience with them trying to navigate trailhead on their own, just having a little bit of a push, and some direction that you provided was really good. Not only that, but you had some existing program members that were very helpful. Of course, Anita is one of your rock stars. I also bombarded her with a lot of messages as well, and she was nice and patient and kind with me, so that was good. But it wasn't necessarily focused on getting certified, right? I think your assumption is that people will, as long as they follow your outline and your guides, eventually they will find themselves to being certified. It's more of the other things that you help in your program in terms of interviews, LinkedIn prep, and just bringing in some specialists and things like that. And of course, your special subset of Ohana group, right? So for me, that was really the benefit of having a guided path that I could follow. Some people that I could rely on too, in terms of asking some questions and getting those answers that I needed to kind of push me back on path if I fell off a little bit. And, that feeling that, and I think I even said this to a couple of our own program members, like there's someone out there that, that's going to want you, right? There's always somebody for somebody. And I knew that my fear of ageism was real. I mean, it's a thing, but that was really my biggest concern. That, and of course, passing the certification exam in its own right, just because I'm not the best test taker, as I tell a lot of people. So that was my only fear. Other than that, I knew that with your support system and with the group that I would be successful. The one thing that I would tell everyone is to be yourself and be as honest as you possibly can during that interview process. And of course, what makes an interview process fun is when you have someone on the other side that is also engaging and is, positive and excited and, giving you those good vibes. So the interview process for me was really pleasant. Again, you start off kind of being a little hesitant, going, I'm not sure if this is going to go anywhere. But what did I learn from this particular this encounter, right? So I did have the opportunity to continue along this interview process. It was kind of a lengthy interview process. I talked with a lot of people, but I'll tell you that every person that I met in this process, I enjoyed having that conversation with. It was a very positive experience for me. Now, that doesn't mean that when I'm getting ready to log into the video that I'm not a little nervous or that I don't have my notes, because I'm prepared when I go into interviews, but I'm also prepared to be myself and be honest. So when I first had my first interview, it was like, look, just know I am newly certified. There are things that I know, and this is my approach in terms of how I learned to become, a certified admin. I tell people very honestly that my goal is to first of all understand the complete functionality and then kind of dig in and learn a little bit more detail, and that you'll need to help me grow. But here's where I can help you. And so that's the interview process that I had with every person that I met with. The biggest question that came up at the later stages of the interviews, when we're talking presidents, COOs, and CEOs, and there were great questions, and I knew that that's why I was going to meet with them. Why are you changing careers? Right? Why? Well, it's easy enough. One, I was laid off. Second, I was not happy with what I was doing. So this is something that, as we talked earlier, I was already looking at Salesforce as a potential career change a couple years ago. So, COVID accelerated a lot of things. And for me, it accelerated the opportunity to join the Salesforce environment. The three things that really stand out in terms of before that whole interview process, well, actually four things, the interview process. One, you're given a path that you can follow. And some guidance. So that really helps people stay on course, right? Two, you bring people in to have, these webinars with recruiters and these specialists through the Salesforce environment that will teach people about the, Salesforce functionalities and the different paths that they can take, so you can give them some background information on that. That's two. Three, everyone talks about the whole Salesforce Ohana thing, which at first I was like, what does this mean, right? But you have a subset of Ohana in the Talent Stacker group. So it's its own little family of Ohana people. And so when we visit and I'm not the most active, but when I do visit our Facebook page, I see some people celebrating some things, which is awesome. And other people saying, hey, I'm having a really bad week because of this, right? And you can see people just jumping right in, right? And trying to give them a little support and hold them up. So that's awesome, right? So the Ohana in terms of the bigger picture is great, but the Ohana in terms of the talent stacker is very, very strong. And four is what I call the culminating activity, okay? So that is helping your members get into a project, be it with a nonprofit or with a group project. So there's experience in that. I actually mentioned during my interview process two things, and one was really caught the CEO off guard when I was talking about members from all different areas. I mentioned Hugh and being a truck driver and how he changed his career. And he was amazed. He's like, really? This is a real story? I'm like, this is an absolutely real story. This dude is smart. And he needed to make a decision in terms of changing his life, and he did, right? So I talked a little bit about that during my interview process, but I also talked multiple times about the project, the culminating activity, in terms of teaming up with fellow team members, and getting that experience of working with people and dealing out assignments and, working with different personalities, being thrown together in a little pot and shaken up a little bit and told to do something. That's number four. If you join this program, is what you're doing is you're betting on yourself, right? So you've made the decision that this is a step for you that's going to be a positive step in the right direction, right? You're going to change your path. You're going to change your career. And so that's definitely a positive. And ultimately, no matter where you are, you have to be able to believe in yourself, right? I mean, everyone's got value to a certain extent and to certain abilities. Now, because I am experienced, there are things that I do come with that can be very beneficial to all types of businesses. But there's also, just because I'm newly certified, there's also things that I need to learn and grow in. But I'm excited about that opportunity, about learning and growing. So I bring that enthusiasm, right? That passion that you talk about, and that passion that you promote. And it's kind of funny because in the past, passion was always like, whatever, passion, I didn't buy it. But and that's one thing that when you bet on yourself and, you get, ultimately your confidence grows that you can do things. Ultimately, I think those are really the two things that you really need.